Hello from Auckland, New Zealand. I do my best thinking when I'm walking, and so I decided to document these thoughts here as I walk this lovely trail. Today I was reflecting about the main reasons why I decided to leave full-time teaching and thought I'd share some of these reasons here. I want to do this so that I can look back at this video and remind myself about why I left, especially because I have loved teaching and I know that I'll probably start to miss it, and maybe this video will help another teacher, which would be really cool. Now, before I get into the reasons behind my decision, I just want to say I've loved teaching. I love the kids and the connections I've made with so many of them, as well as the teachers I've met who have inspired me along the way. I've also grown up so much, from being a shy, introverted individual to an introverted yet confident teacher and leader. I've gone from presenting in front of a staff room with my heart racing from nerves to fielding questions in a room full of strangers. For some reason, standing in front of a classroom with 30 kids staring at me never gave me that same level of anxiety. In fact, it was my happy place for a very long time. But early on in my teaching career, I knew this was going to be a tough journey, and if I'm being honest, something just felt a little off from the very beginning. I was really excited to begin my teaching journey, but one thing that all new teachers quickly learn is how to manage behaviour in the classroom, and a big part of that is developing a teacher persona. As a teacher, you're constantly making what feels like 1,000 decisions every day: how you speak, how you act, how you respond or react to individual students, and the overall environment. Your teacher persona starts to develop from all of that. It becomes this kind of filter for your true self, because at that moment, you're not really thinking about yourself. You're thinking about your audience, whether that's the kids, their parents, or the staff. Yes, my personality and general temperament are still there, but that filter is on all day long, and it started to get tough to shake it off when it was time to go home. It became second nature to use that filter for 8+ hours a day, 40 to 60 hours a week. And honestly, that's part of how I started to feel like I was losing myself to teaching. The problem is, when you're constantly wearing that filter, you start to lose touch with who you are outside of the classroom. It's exhausting to always be in teacher mode. I started to feel disconnected from my own life, like my identity was wrapped up entirely in my role as a teacher. When your identity is tied up entirely in one thing, it's easy to forget the other parts of who you are. And I realized that by constantly living in this persona, I was coming dangerously close to burning out and losing touch with what truly makes me happy. This is one of the biggest reasons I left teaching. First off, I cared so much for the kids, their well-being, their learning, and so on. Sometimes I'd be making dinner at home and my mind would wander to that one child who just couldn't grasp a particular math strategy. Or I'd be doing laundry and thinking about the kid who hadn't handed in their permission slip yet, wondering if it was because the cost was too much for their family. And if it wasn't about their learning, it was about their behaviour. I'd always known that behaviour comes from a need, so I'd be constantly asking myself, what does this child need? This question and the possible answers would build up in my mind, and I didn't always realise how much time I'd spent in this headspace. I'd find myself at home just kind of wandering around like a zombie, half aware of time passing and only half present with the loved ones around me. And then there was the money. I spent way too much, as I know many teachers do. I honestly can't even admit how much I spent on resources, furniture, and extra stationery. I'm kind of embarrassed by it. I was spending more on my class than myself sometimes. Of course, let's not forget the insane amount of admin that comes with being a teacher. I have no idea how some teachers still manage to have a great work-life balance with what is expected of us all. It's honestly hard to even know where to start when talking about the sheer amount of paperwork and admin involved in teaching these days. Yes, there's always planning, along with resourcing, appraisals, observations, testing, marking, adjusting your plans based on your marking, reporting, curriculum changes, professional learning notes, assignments, and then, of course, meetings to talk about all of this. Team meetings, staff meetings, professional learning group meetings, unnecessary meetings that could be emails. It just doesn't stop. But one example that really stands out to me is when I notice a child has an additional need, whether it's related to their learning or behaviour. I'd have to reach out to someone in leadership for support on next steps, then communicate with the parents about the issue and possible solutions. If it's a behaviour concern, I'm entering incident forms. If it's a learning issue, I'm gathering evidence. And if the support involves other agencies or paediatricians, for example, I'd end up sending a bunch of documents for them to fill out about that child. And I'd usually have to do these documents on my lunch break just to scan and send it to the right people. Then there are these follow-up meetings, messages, more questions, more forms, more paperwork. And sometimes nothing happens. The government agencies will say they can't fund a child, or the paediatrician will put them on a months-long wait list. And at that point, all my energy, both the time I've spent and the hope that I've invested in helping these kids, starts to fade. It's like I've done everything I can and it still won't be enough. That's what it feels like, dealing with the mountain of paperwork and endless meetings every single day, let alone trying to help one of my many students. It's like pouring all this energy into something only to watch it go nowhere over and over again. I'm not super young, but at my age, I shouldn't feel this unhealthy and life-weary. I sometimes think about that IKEA experiment where two plants are placed in the same conditions, but one plant hears nothing but negative, horrible things every day, and the other hears only positive, encouraging remarks. One plant withers while the other thrives. It's not the most scientific experiment, but guess which plant I felt like? I wasn't being bullied by anyone in particular, just by the profession itself. I used to think that gaining weight was just something that happens as you age, but even with that mindset, I still couldn't figure out why I was holding on to weight. I wasn't eating excess calories, I worked out 3 to 4 times a week in strength and cardio training, and I didn't always get enough sleep, but on the whole, I was getting 6 to 7 hours. So I sat down and really took a hard look at what was going on. And of course, it was right there in front of me. Stress. High levels of stress. Emotional, mental, physical stress. I was wearing it on my body and my face. As soon as I made the decision to leave teaching, I actually got sick for a few weeks. It was like my body was trying to detoxify everything I'd been holding on to for the past 8 years. But then things started to change. I'm not saying that there was a quick fix for dealing with this extra weight because, to be honest, a lot of it's still physically there, but I have started to let go of that stress. I feel lighter already. I feel freer. I had forgotten what joyous felt like. When I told my principal, I felt guilty, like I'd let everyone down. But as the weeks went on, I started to feel lighter, like a weight had been lifted. The sense of freedom made me feel absolutely amazing, almost like I was floating. It's the end of New Zealand's summer break now, and I'm heading back to school for another term, and then after that, I'm off overseas. I already know I'll miss teaching a lot. I love teaching a range of subjects and seeing those light bulb moments when kids finally get a concept. I'll really miss interacting with them every day, but I also know I'll find other ways to live a meaningful life. Right now, I just need a break. Since I made the decision to leave a few months ago, I've been taking small steps to be able to support myself without needing to work full-time. Of course, I was desperate to leave straight away, but I knew I had to set myself up for success in order to truly take that much-needed break. That's why I'm starting this channel, to record all of this and remind myself why I left in the first place. And who knows, maybe it will help someone else there along the way. So leave a comment if anything I've said has also resonated with you. I'm hoping that in a future video I will talk about these small steps that I've taken so far toward leaving teaching. Thanks for watching and see you next time.